Hey guys, how you doing? This is Bobby Davis here from Kernersville, North Carolina, the tech capital world. I'm joined side by side with Kevin Doyle. How you doing, Kevin?
Hey, I'm great. How you doing?
All right, good. So we've got a hot topic today. People are wanting to know what we're talking about.
We do. Yeah, I know. That's kind of funny. I just like to point out first, we're not late.
We're not late.
We're on time.
We're on time.
Remember a couple weeks back I said noonish, so
Right.
it's noonish. So I'm considering this on time.
Yeah, we're good. I don't even know what time it is. What time?
So
is it?
it's just after.
So
see, he has. This is true. He doesn't even have to say it anymore. We just know what's going to happen.
Just think we're the traditional American TV show that has a long trailer in the beginning. You know, that shows the credits.
Yeah, or some sort of terrible ad right up front.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. Maverick, we'll get to memes. We're going to do them in a little bit.
We had our production meeting. We're doing yours at the end. So
we will get to them. I promise. We will do some memes today. Yeah. You did a good job posting some. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we decided today we would talk about scams.
Yeah, and so the scam isn't that we don't have a topic today. That's not the scam.
No, that's not the scam. That should be the scam. That would be a great scam. It's that we actually have nothing to talk about.
We have nothing to talk about.
Goodbye.
Yeah, see you later.
Let me run that bumper. Hold on. Let me run that bumper again.
Yeah.
See you guys. Not really.
That's the scam. We actually going to have some stuff to talk about.
We do. So we thought.
People, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say there. Let's say hey. And I saw some of you guys this morning. Actually, I'll get to that in a second.
All right. Cool.
So I've got Mavericks here asking me about this is about bad recruiters. Not really. A little bit.
Sort of. Maybe.
Sort of. A little bit. We'll talk about that a little bit. So kind of. Andreas is here. Hey, Andreas. Welcome back. Beth is here. I saw Beth this morning on our call, so that was cool. It was good to see you on there. Next week. Next week it is. Let me see. Thomas is here too. Glenn is here, and I saw Glenn this morning too. That's awesome. Obviously Adam's here. We've seen Adam already. Who else we got here? Anshul is here. John is here, and John Cat and John B is here too. And 2Ube is back again. Been away for a while. We haven't. You must have been. Where did you go?
That's it, man. We've been here almost every day.
Vacation or work or something interesting? I don't know. And Missa is watching us live. He's been busy lately.
For the first time. All right. I'm assuming that's what it means.
Cool. No. They were here before. They've been away for a minute. So I recognize the name. So
all right.
Yeah. So what we thought was Bobby has some history with this topic.
Yeah, I do. So one of the things that I've built in my past life is I actually built a fraud company, and so a fraud company that built software that ran inside of banks, and it was centered around credit card and check card fraud. And recently or since 2018, I kind of exited out of that company, sold it, and then but it's still going, still selling stuff. So
So you did. So this was a pain point with check card and credit card fraud. Yeah. So you developed a piece of software that helped banks and stuff with that, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. And so a lot of it centers around checks, credit card fraud, and other types of fraud.
Which is crazy, by the way. When you say check fraud, I'm like, who on earth writes a check anymore? I don't know, at least in the US.
Apparently, but it's just people that are passing fake ones. $6 billion last year.
How much again?
15.6 billion in the US.
15.6 billion.
Yeah. So,
that's crazy.
It's kind of crazy. So I think eventually legislation will move to outlaw checks, but we'll see. If you think about a check is what I call an unauthenticated transaction that means that the banks have agreed, if you take your checks, I'll take mine. You take my checks, I'll take yours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They don't authenticate them. So there's, I just hand you a piece of paper.
Right.
Signatures aren't valid. They're not even verified anymore. Even though they do have signatures on corporate accounts and to signing and all that kind of stuff. Very rarely are those things ever validated. And because of the way check transactions work, they're not instant. They're 3 to 10 days. And so
Wow.
when you have that kind of what we call float time, that means that you can write a fraudulent check and no one knows for 3 to 5 days.
Wow.
And
So when you say writing a fraudulent check, you're writing a check from an account that doesn't have funds to cover the check, right? That's the fraudulent part, right?
Or the one that will blow your mind
Okay.
is they'll write a fraudulent check that has the routing number correct, but the account number doesn't exist.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what does that gain you, though? But it's just just not even a real account.
It's not a real account. Account not found, account closed, account frozen, account blocked, all those kind of like things that we have in there. They're all kind of the same kind of check fraud. And so like what happens is you write a check, and because of the way the check exchange works, they'll make an image of that check, and then they'll send those images through a batch system that gets filtered through, and then it gets routed based on their route number to the depositing or the drawing institution. And then that person pulls those images off and starts manually going through them. And that could take 3 to 10 days. And then they'll send it back. They'll send a transaction back through the same method that says, hey, this is bad. We're not giving you any money.
So who loses out on that transaction?
Believe it or not, the person that owns the account that's sending out. Because in a lot of banks and a lot of credit unions, there's called first day availability of funds, which means that either a portion of that check has to be given to the account holder or all of it. Unless you can say that the account is fraudulent or closed or for some other reason. And then you can put a hold on it, and that hold can last 10 days, 7 to 10 days. But if you have no knowledge of the owner of the account and you don't really care, you just send it over anyway.
Yeah.
Then the account holder's left holding the bill.
Wow.
So what typically happens in a check fraud is they'll say they'll write a check for $5,000.
Yep.
And let's say the first day availability of funds is 10% of that. It could be 500, but it could be as much as 2,500. Then they'll withdraw that money from the account. One of the scams is, and then it comes back non-sufficient. And then that time the bank is on the hook for that. But typically what happens is I pay you with a check. All right. You cash it, you get the first day availability of funds, and then you take the money out of your account, and then they come back and debit the account for the full check amount. And you lose money.
That's scary.
But it gets more insidious than that, and we'll talk about the different scams. So that's how it works. But let's talk about some of the scams that can happen with Don't Get Scammed, and it all centers around a lot of times like how check fraud works. A lot of these do. So they're all like, the reason I wanted to explain to you like how check fraud works is because they're all centered around this common thing of it takes 7 to 10 days to figure out if a check is bad or not.
Right.
All right. And so you know that, and you know that there's a portion of money that will be given to you on the first day of the deposit. Those are the two key kind of metrics when you're trying to solve fraud problems. And it's like any software problem that you come and solve is like, so what happens? Tell me what happens. Okay.
Yeah. And you got to fully understand it.
What if questions all the time? Like, what if you had this or what if you had that? And that's the basis of the software that we wrote that kind of mitigates this, is a lot of my what if questions. And then we build a system around those what ifs, and without divulging in like how we did it or anything like that. But like, because it is, it's covered by NDAs and intellectual property and all that kind of stuff. So, but in general, it mitigates check fraud, and there's systems in place that they could put together that can mitigate that at the bank level, at the transaction, at the window when you're passing the check in. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Here you go. Mark says, so Mark, we know deals with accounting stuff.
Yeah.
As an accountant, he says you're talking about 50% of the people he work with uses checks.
So most check volume are business checks. Personal
Right.
checks are like microscopic.
Yeah, you don't see a lot at the store anymore. You'll see the odd person, you'll go to the store and they'll be like writing a check out, and you'll be like, man,
Yeah.
I picked the wrong line. That's usually me. It's usually the person in front of me wants to write a check, and I'm there an extra 5 minutes while they write out the check.
Yeah.
But you don't see it as often as you used to.
So like tech with that, he says, I built a fraud company to commit acts of fraud. No, let me tell you, I know he's joking. I know, I get the joke. But realistically, it's so bad. I didn't have to commit fraud to make money. It like the very first customer, we saved them over $2 million in a 12-month period on check fraud.
That's crazy.
So the very
that's
first
crazy
customer that used it.
Wow.
So like when you're making that kind of return for a customer, it can be lucrative. So
yeah, definitely.
In other words, like go legit, it pays better. So
right, it's a good moral to the story.
It is,
so here's why we're talking about this, and this is just a sort of jumping off topic.
Yeah.
Because so recently we were talking in the office, and one of our students got a job offer.
Yeah,
they got a job offer.
Right.
And turns out it was a fake job offer. It was a scam.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a few red flags with this thing that eventually like had us question it. So the student applied for the job directly. He then looped us in to say like, hey, I've applied for this. And when you're working with us as a student here post Coder Foundry, you'll work with Mary Hannah and Natasha, and you apply for stuff on your own, and then they'll basically look at your applications and they'll validate some stuff. They'll obviously put you out for stuff as well, but stuff you apply for on yourself, they'll take a look at it and be like, oh, okay, I know that company, I know that person. Like I'll give them a call and say like, hey, I heard that so-and-so applied, you should take a look at this, or whatever it is. And it turns out this company we had a little bit of a relationship with already that it was purported to be.
Right.
So when we started looking into it, there was a few red flags. First one was the interview process.
Yeah. So like, so here's why I think this is important for you guys as you're trying to break in. So like the big thing that you'll see in these job application scams is work from home scams. Okay. And typically you can't work from home. You can't make it. And you used to could say it's a work from home scam that doesn't really exist. So just avoid all those kind of job posts. But with COVID, now programmers that work from home is actually commonplace. Like it's very real that a lot of people do work from home. So you're going to see code from home scams are going to come out of the woodwork. And I think what we're seeing is one of the very first ones we saw was with one of our students and they purported to be from a very large company. I do not want to call the company name out because it's not the company name's fault.
I'm going to say it was an aerospace company because this was part of the scam too.
Yeah. And so like, but I guarantee you're going to see these from you name any famous company, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, they're going to all come out and say, you've been hired at Facebook, you know? And so like the first thing that happens is the interview process takes place over like chat.
Yeah. His was a phone call.
Oh, he did. He had a phone call.
It got to a phone call point. Yeah. It started on chat, but it did get to a phone call part. But there was never going to be an in-person. There was never going to be even a video chat, which was interesting. It was all phone call and just text chat. So that was a first red flag. The second red flag on that same call was the offer of the job.
Yeah.
Literally on the first call.
Right. Exactly. So that's the thing that you'll get hired instantly. And so that's your first kind of red flag. Now, have I been hired instantly? Yes. But typically I had like a in-person interview and you're walking into a building and you can see the building, you know, that kind of stuff. So like, but typically also that offer typically doesn't come to like 24 hours later or something like that. But I've been offered stuff right on the spot. So like,
plus this is a culmination of things.
Yeah.
It can happen, but it's one, you have to look for a series of things here.
Right.
It's not just one of these things, it's a bunch of these things.
Right, exactly.
That you have to look for.
Right. So here's the thing that emotionally, why it works for everyone is emotionally you need a job. And so you're willing to accept these terms, even though you know that they be fraud. there be dragons, like, there's, it's not, everything doesn't be on the up and up, but you need a job. And so they play on those emotions. They offer you something extraordinary usually. And I think the smarter ones are getting to where the pay is kind of like reasonable, where so you don't have those red flags.
Right.
The ones that say, we're going to give you $1 million next week. And so like now his offer came across as very ordinary offer that we normally get from most students, so like
it was ballpark right, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was almost exactly right.
Exactly.
I mean, which shows you that the research these guys have done is like legit. It was good.
So Maverick has the obvious question. So what's the scam? I mean, like, other than I'm wasting my time or it's not a real job, what do these fake companies get from hiring you? So here's what happens, Maverick. In general, the first thing that can happen is they're going to hire you on day one, and then you're going to fill out a bunch of information with your personal information, especially in the US, all of your information. So like for you to open up a credit card account in someone else's name, you need about 3 things: a name, an address, and a social security number. And you pretty much can fill out an online credit card company. And trust me when I say this, when you fill that form out, they're opening up a Discover, an American Express card, or something like that within hours, if not minutes, if it's not even automated from the form. So like, so like these are sophisticated companies, these fraud companies that typically exist outside the US and other countries, so they can't be really prosecuted from the US, typically, a lot of times in Russia, China, North Korea, those kind of places. And so like you fill out this information, and then they have all the personal information they need to open up accounts in your name and steal your identity and actually drain accounts. A lot of times you'll fill out bank deposit information for direct deposit.
Yeah, just like you would for a job, right?
Yeah, exactly like you do.
And that's exactly what this scam was. This one wanted bank information.
Yeah,
They're like, hey, you got the job. Send us your bank information and we'll sort out your paycheck.
And then your account is empty. They empty it. So that's kind of what they want to do. So that's the first kind of scam. So bank pay info, credit card of things to open up credit card accounts and things like that. But it gets more nefarious from there. That's the good one. Like you can sometimes you can
just the easy one
charges, those kind of things like that. So here's my advice too. Like if you're going to work from home with a company you don't know, with someone you've never met, and this goes true if you're going to Fiverr, TopTool, Odesk, or anybody like that, and you're going to be paid from someone, you need to open up an account that's specific for that, and you transfer money to give you into the other one.
Yeah, don't give your personal account with your savings account attached to it.
No, don't do that. So like you open up, and then you don't pay out of that account. You just receive money, and then you move that money into the account that you're using for your payables. So typically most people in the US have a checking account and a savings account. They only have one. And you shouldn't expose that account number to anybody. Hence the reason checks are so bad is because the other thing you do with a check is you write the account and route number is on the front face of it. And that's really all you need to do to conduct a transaction. And people don't know that.
Right.
That's it. You just need the account, the route, and the account holder name. And that's all on the check. And you hand it to the person at the grocery store, pay your groceries with. It's it's really bad. You might as well just hand them the password and the PIN number too. It's bad, so like, that's why checks are so bad and they're so fraudulent. So.
Yep. Yeah. Here's another thing about this particular scam too.
Yeah.
When we were looking at it as well, they were pretty elaborate in the way that they had registered the domain too, the email address that was used to send. So they had registered, I think it was aerospace.com, and they had added a subdomain to the beginning of aerospace.com with the actual company name.
Right.
And they're an aerospace company. So it seemed legit.
It seemed
legit. So the company it wasn't Boeing or anything like that. But let's say that it was. It was like Boeing.aerospace.com. And it was like, wow, that seems legit. So it was like Jeff at Boeing.aerospace.com.
Right.
I'm like, okay,
So
that seems legit.
tip number one, when you get an email from somebody and they're saying, and the other two is like, if you get an unsolicited email, say, I have a job for you. I found your resume online. That is number one. I'm like, wow, okay, that's kind of crazy. So, but you can take that email domain and you can like push that in your browser to see if it's a real website. And typically it won't be.
Right.
Yeah. It's just not real at all. Second thing that you can do is if you're the thing that I do is I don't even do that. I'll look at the name and then I'll take the name and just do a Google search to see what websites come up and see if those two things match. If I'm suspicious, because I don't even want to go to a fake website that could also infect your computer with spyware or something like that.
Right. That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So like kind of more kind of, you just learn as you do this stuff, like, but the first thing you should do is always look at where the email address domain's at.
Exactly. Just look at who it came from to start off with, because that thing I believe is still. And maybe we can ask Keytron next week, who's coming back next week. By the way, we have Keytron on next Wednesday. We have an awesome topic. I'm going to push the thing out probably early next week. But it's we got a good topic about working from home. It's going to be good.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be good. We have some good stuff for you. So maybe we can ask him about that.
So then why are checks used by companies? That's a good question. And it comes down to this. If you've never ran a business, if you want to send or receive money from somebody and use some other kind of payment vehicle, it costs a percentage. So there'll be a fee associated with that if you use a credit card or something like that, or some kind of like flat fee to do the transaction. Checks do not cost anything. So if you're paying 3% on a transaction, and let's say you sell computer hardware and that system is $100,000, you don't want to give that just to the credit card company. You say, send me a check.
Yeah.
So like, that way
it's like getting a 3% discount using a check.
Exactly. And so like, but I do believe, and you guys in the European companies can tell me, I think checks are more restrictive in European countries than they are in the US. So it's not as a big of a problem as it is in the US. Because, I guess we're cowboys, man. We just want to live free and that hard, so we should write sometimes, I'm more of an anti-reg guy, but like, I think this, it's so bad. Like it's like 60 to 70% of all business checks are fraudulent. Something to be done, and like, we built software. I sold the company, but like, and they're in there trying to do that, but like, it's still like a humongous problem. It's a huge problem.
Right. Yep.
So
yeah, definitely. And yes, and so there's two ways to spell checks, by the way. This is the more European spelling. This is the American spelling.
And you'll see it both ways in the US.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Normally from people like me who have moved.
But even still, like the banks and stuff like that too, they'll spell it the way they want. So
well, that's because this is the correct way. I mean,
is that what it is? I look at it as that's the fancy way to do it. It's not correct. Way.
Okay, I can see that. It seems very French, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does seem very French and fancy.
Yeah, I like it. Okay. Mox here now. ACH is becoming more and more accepted, which is basically a digital check. How does ACH differ from check then, and is it more secure then? Do you know a lot about ACH?
Not necessarily. So it depends on like what you're doing is like whether you're doing I'm going to use the terms pull or push. So like if you're pulling money out of account or you're pushing money to another account, and that's the difference. And so do you allow people to pull from your account or do you have to push them? It's also more complicated to set up ACHs now, and it's just simpler to do, but they should make it easier to be able to do an ACH transaction. There's still a fee associated with ACHs. So like, can't cancel a check. You can't put a stop payment on ACH. The other problem with it is once it happens, it's gone. So
right.
So that's the other kind of danger with ACH. But and so you have to build systems around that to make sure that if an ACH is being pushed out of your account, is that vendor that you're paying on your approved vendor list. So there's a lot of work going around about these approved vendor lists that you put inside of ACH. And there's regulations around like Sarbanes-Oxley and those kind of things that make sure that that's possible. But even that's a very manual process. And what Mark may not know, it's still a check. So like they'll print it out and then they put it through Check 21 and they send it out that way. So ACH.
Oh, wow. So internally, as far as the bank is concerned, it's still a check.
Still a check. And it takes 3 to 5 days sometimes to process. And there are some positive pay systems, and those things are linked together and they can do those instantaneously, but that's not all of them.
If you're going between two banks, I'm guessing, then it's
yeah
generally going to be that more manual.
Yeah. Process. So like if you're going from Wells to, Bank of America, typically they can do those instantly. But if you're coming from your credit union to somewhere else, it gets printed out as a check and sent around. Still, I could be wrong. Some bank you could tell me that no, we fixed it, but I can tell you that they
last time you looked,
but not everyone has fixed it. So like there's still problems with it. So like
Here you go, Maverick's onto something. First company that make a check alternative will be minting money.
Oh, they've already done that. It's called a credit card.
Awesome.
And there's virtual card accounts, and so like V card accounts. So like a virtual card account is now what they're doing. What I just told you should do is make us separate accounts. Now they make an account that changes with every transaction. So the account number is a stand-in. Awesome. And American Express, Bank of America, all these people have these things now. And then you pay your vendors and your payables with these V card accounts, so that when you send it over to a vendor, they only have access to that one-time use account number. And then you pay them or that you receive money and that's it. And then you make a different one. And so they have a system put in place to help with that. And I think that's really the future. The problem is there is a fee associated with that. And so, there always will be fees. Even with PayPal and those kind of things, there'll always be fees.
Right. Troy's asking, and thanks for the question, Troy, thoughts on Stripe and PayPal? PayPal got hacked a couple of years ago, so I don't use it anymore.
So I think PayPal is really good. So Stripe is different. The PayPal and Stripe do two different things. So Stripe allows you to do transactionals underneath and allows you to integrate with websites and doing like e-commerce and things like that. PayPal allows you to send money to people and collect money and send payments. But they do perform two different functions, believe it or not. But you can do some stuff that PayPal does, and they're kind of morphing, but Stripe has a little bit different API underneath. The thing that PayPal does, and this is why you should use it, is the best you can put two-factor on it. So I know that even that's not foolproof, but it's better than just put a username and a password on it. When you pay someone with PayPal, you're not exposing your back-end account numbers underneath. You're just using the PayPal account. So that's good. They can't discern like what your account route is from a PayPal transaction. So that's good.
Right.
So that's
the issue is, of course, if they get access to your account, that's the issue, which is where you have to have the two-factor, have a super strong password, use something like LastPass, create a 50-character password and have LastPass remember it. And
then change it.
Right.
All the time. So like those kind of stuff. So just do that. So that's still the best way to do it. The second thing is with PayPal, even with PayPal, you also can hook into a separate account that you fund from another bank account. And that's another thing. So if it does get hacked, you can only keep maybe you only keep $500 or $1,000. Depends on what you deem not a lot of money is. It could be $10, but it may be, if you're Bill Gates, only keep a couple $100,000 in there. But that's way they don't get access to the complete account that you have. So, and that way you limit your loss if someone gets in.
Right.
So that's kind of, I think Stripe is used for integration in general, Troy. That's what it's used for, to send money between two things. So Stripe is cool. If you want to receive money or build an e-commerce site, that's what it's used for.
Well, here you go. Beth said she actually she got scammed on PayPal for $500 and PayPal was good about it and gave her money back the same day. Shut the guy down. That's the kind of protection that they do, isn't it? They give you that extra barrier to that.
Right.
That promise.
So
this is interesting. No, go ahead.
An Apple phone, I guess.
We'll talk about Apple Pay in a second, because Adam put something about Apple Pay too.
Yeah.
We put up, like, he's getting to the point where, if I can't pay something with Apple Pay, and then he says, what percentage of buyers actually use Apple Pay? I don't know, and I know that it's not many, right?
Yeah.
Because I go to the store, I use it all the time. I love it. I have the watch, and when I double click it and pay on the watch, for the longest time, for the first year of having it, it shocked everybody in the store. The people behind me, the people checking out, they're like fascinated by this thing. And I'm like, okay, so I know it's not popular because you've never seen it before. Even the checkout person never seen it before.
Yeah, I know.
So this has been, even in the last year, it's still like, it's magical. They're still sort of like surprised by it. So I'm going to say not a lot, unfortunately. I wish there had bigger adoption. And more so ever than like now, I don't want to touch the thing anymore. Like, I just want to double click my watch, put it near the thing, and it pays. I don't have to touch the pen. I don't have to touch the numbers. I don't have to do anything. That's a way better transaction right now for me. I go to places that I know specifically will take Apple Pay.
Yeah. And so Thomas wants to know, what are the benefits of using Apple Pay, Samsung Pay? And I think you got into it. So you can load payment vehicles in these, and then you don't expose your payment vehicles to the vendor. One side bit about with COVID, like you were saying, touchless or contactless payment systems. So you don't have to like type in the keyboard. You don't have to swipe anything. So those are all cool. But with Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay, the vendor's paying the fee for the transaction still. So it's probably 3.5% plus 30 cents, something like that. I think that's the standard PayPal fee. So they're all pretty good, and I've always find myself wanting to set one up, but I've just never took the time to do it. So you definitely can hook your vehicles up in there, and it's pretty easy.
Yeah, so I've been using mine for the last maybe 2 years now.
You've had that pay system even since like the early days of Coder Foundry. I remember when we were in New York and you bought a drink.
Yeah,
and I was like, really? They have, and it was very early on. I remember that I hadn't seen one yet.
Oh, very early on, they were pure magic to people.
Card, but not like where you just. And I remember I didn't have cash on me, and we were thirsty, and like you bought a drink. And I'm like, man, I wish I had one of those.
But still, today you still haven't moved over to it.
No, I haven't moved over.
It's just. But now most stores, or a lot of stores, I should say, do have it. The bigger stores definitely have it.
Yeah. So the problem is in the U.S., and I know this too, just because of my experience in the fraud companies, is the actual payment terminal, which we call the POS terminal, and then those POS terminals access networks, and those networks then turn in access to the agreements between banks and the exchange networks. So like there's a lot of infrastructure in there, and a lot of vendors and a lot of competition. And so when you're trying to change over a POS terminal and accept Apple Pay, it's hard to get in. And only people like MasterCard, Visa, Apple, Google, and Samsung have been able to like penetrate that to any degree. Because you're asking a vendor to change his point of sale machine. And then that transaction type has to be supported by the network that your POS terminals operate in. So it gets complicated,
Right. Adam said, I'm assuming he looked this up and didn't just know this off the top of his head. Google, he says Google says, I guess he Googled it. 89% of iPhone users, 34% of consumers use Apple Pay. That's a huge number.
It's a big number. It's a big game, and it's billions of dollars at stake. So everyone's trying to figure out a new payment vehicle. Everyone's trying to do that. That's why Bitcoin came out, because it's a new payment vehicle. So that's kind of what it is.
So Estevan is saying, aren't Apple Pay and Samsung Pay just like a PayPal that's just built into the OS? Yeah. Yeah. And it's just the convenience factor. That's what it's just convenience. Because I know that I can just, when I have my watch, I just double tap the one button and I know my card is going to come up. And that's it.
I mean, and it just comes up. Crazy, but like Chick-fil-A and Starbucks have their own payment mechanisms. You just can't pay anybody else with it. But you can load your thing with Chick-fil-A and just I was in there the other day. I'm not supposed to be eating Chick-fil-A, but I did. And you can pay right from the app. I'm on my diet. Kevin knows.
Yes, you can.
And what was cool because of COVID, I was sitting in a line that was wrapping around this Chick-fil-A, and I paid with the app. They brought the food out, and I jumped out of the line because I didn't have to go through the payment window. It's kind of cool. Anyway.
Yep.
Anyway, so
yeah,
like
I do the thing at Starbucks all the time, although I haven't been for a long time, but I have the app and the app on here, and it's like, and I actually order on the app too. I'll order on the app, I'll pay on the app, I'll walk in, and my drink will be sat there with my name on it, and I just pick it up.
Yeah.
So yeah. Here you go. You're gonna have to explain this one.
Yeah, Raphael's right. This is what I was talking about. V cards, Raphael, like American Express, Bank of America, all of them, especially in corporate world. When you're talking about corporate transactions, B2B transactions, they're called V cards, and basically they change the account number with every transaction. And so they generate a unique number, a one-time use account number, and then they do the translation between that number coming in and what's the real account number behind the scenes. So pretty common thing that's happening right now.
1, 2, 3, 4 MSV.
Yeah.
Here you go. You're gonna have to explain Chick-fil-A.
What? Really?
They don't have Chick-fil-A where Maverick is. I think Maverick's in India. They don't have Chick-fil-A in India.
Chick-fil-A hasn't got.
It's not okay when you're outside of the US. Actually, when you're outside of the southern US, Chick-fil-A is not really a thing. They opened one in New York, and it was like this. Well, wow, Chick-fil-A, this is new. It's like,
no, it's just the best chicken sandwich on the face of planet Earth from a fast food restaurant.
I think Adam sums it up. Delicious chicken sandwich chain.
It's the best one out there, period. And
according to you, Popeyes would say different. They would say that the chicken sandwich is different.
I can objectively say the Chick-fil-A sandwich is better.
Oh, controversial. Anybody have an opinion on that? Anybody prefer the Popeyes spicy one?
It's not as good. It's like
okay.
It's not bad though. It's not bad. I'm not saying it's awful.
I have no affiliation to any, although like preference for any of these things really.
Now people
they're all pretty good.
Sponsored by Chick-fil-A or Microsoft Chick-fil-A sponsorship.
Hey, Chick-fil-A, if you're interested,
we're all about it.
Send me an email.
Yeah.
I will rock the Chick-fil-A lemonade cup if you're interested.
The cow, the cow logo. So.
Yep. There you go. Thomas knows what's up.
Come on, man. The spicy chicken sandwich from Popeyes is pretty good. It's just not as good as Chick-fil-A. But like, here
you go. Glenn agrees with you too. It's like, it's good. He'll give him that.
So
that's funny. If you don't know, there's basically chicken wars here in the US between these guys.
When Popeyes released their chicken sandwich, people were fighting in the parking lot over the things because they couldn't make enough, which I never understood why they couldn't make enough. Like, you make chicken for a living, dude.
Hype, isn't it? It's hype. Yeah, exactly. Man, it's hype. Trust me, there's enough chickens. Yeah. It's hype. This is a good point, Adam. Imagine the Apple Pay AR interface when the glasses come out.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's going to be amazing, isn't it?
I think what's going to happen, Kevin, is you're going to walk into a grocery store and see all the coupons literally hanging off the aisle.
Yep. I mean, I'm just going to, what am I going to do? Double tap to get that one?
Tap it, or you just go like that and pick it. And wave it.
Yeah. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That kind of stuff. Yeah. Or it'll be like in your Instacart app, where you just, you just virtually shop it all up and then it comes to your house.
Okay, so that's cool. See, I wouldn't mind walking virtually around a grocery store because there is something like to that. Well, I was actually complaining about this morning, right? So I ordered Instacart this morning. So if you don't know, Instacart is like an app where somebody else goes shopping for you, right? They go to the grocery store, you tell them what you want, but like there's inherent problems with it. Like it's not compartmentalized as good as it should be. Like I wanted potatoes, right? I searched potatoes. The first thing that comes up is potato chips. I was like, I didn't want that. Like I want potatoes. And I knew in the store, potato chips are nowhere near potatoes.
No.
So it's just, there's a different experience. So maybe some sort of virtual shopping experience would be good. Yeah. So my wife was giving me a list and I'm like, slow down.
They would still put the milk and bread on opposite ends of the building. Even
this is probably true.
So
100% they would.
Yeah.
They want you to walk past all the other stuff first to
so now
let's hope not.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna be like buying stuff all over the place. You'll be like, here's your new car you ordered. You're like, I just blinked at it, man.
So with Apple Pay and Apple glasses, Tim Cook, there was a bug that would blink.
Yeah. All of a sudden, there's like you get this guy spent $1 million on Apple Glass bug.
I know, exactly. So now they're saying that KFC's better. No way, man.
See, Glenn's down for Bojangles, and so's Adam.
Now, Bojangles is another North Carolina, like Southern type thing. I don't think there's.
It is. I'm not a fan.
It's okay. It's pretty good. I mean, like, it's good. You know,
I'm not a fan. It's probably the least healthy option.
Yeah. So it's
just very, very unhealthy.
It's Cajun fried chicken. So, and then KFC does have a Louisiana hot chicken. But then once I ate KFC Louisiana hot chicken, then I started looking for real Louisiana hot chicken, and then there's just no comparison. Like our man Slappy's.
Like Slappy's.
Slappy's chicken is the best chicken on the face of planet Earth, but you can only find it in like East Winston-Salem in North Carolina. It's the only place.
Yeah, not a very, what I would call not a great part of the city.
Nope.
But the place itself is a little rough,
sketchy,
but it's great. But it's great.
They dip the chicken and stuff and give it to you. It's good. Anyway,
it's good. It's messy.
How did we end up on talking about chicken when don't get scammed?
I don't know. I don't recall. Yeah, interesting. Let's get back to the job.
Yeah, so here's the other thing that can happen. So the first one is you fill out bank information, and that's bad. So here's the one that can get you in jail. All right. And this is what can happen to people. So like, and this may not happen to a coder, but I can tell you this, these scammers use the same thing over and over again. If they're not completely original, and they always find a brand new sucker, let's say there's a sucker born every day. They'll find a brand new person who hasn't seen this before, and they just won't understand it. So here's how the scam goes. It's like you get a job, they hire you. Sometimes, Kevin, they may even pay you for like 2 or 3 days.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Then they'll say, we're an overseas company. We got a problem, Kevin. Our big client, we need to send them a check. Can you deposit this check in your account? You've already deposited checks from them before. It's for $5,000, and we need you to wire $4,500 to the customer. And since you're doing it, you get to keep $500. The problem is the check is fraudulent. Okay, a $5,000 check is wire fraud, and then you've wired money to another account and it's gone, and then the check bounces. You're stuck with a $5,000 bill, and you can be accused of money laundering.
Wow,
it's bad. So people do this. So like, true story, my wife was looking for a job in accounting. Okay. And I'm very familiar with this stuff. And so she's on the online job boards, and she says, oh, this lady called me and she's got a job for me. It's a really good job. I'm like, what is it? And then like, there was no interview. They interviewed over chat and email. And I told her, I said, this thing's fraudulent. But even when I told her this, the emotional thing of where I want a job or I want to get a job.
Yeah.
She ignored all the signs. And I told her, I said, here's what's going to happen. They're going to ask you to deposit a check. Do not deposit anyone's check ever. I'll let you go through the process, but the moment they ask you to deposit a check, I'm calling. We're done here. We can't do it anymore.
Yep.
And it was like 2 days later, she said, that woman asked me to deposit a check to pay for office supplies. Yep.
Wow.
That's what happens. And I had to wire this money.
There you go.
Third world country. It's like it didn't make sense. And so like so the wiring is and see, you can see how check fraud plays into this, because you get a check, they know the float is 3 to 7 days before anyone finds out. You wire the money, and a wire is an instant transaction that you have no recourse to. So they give you a fake check, you wire them $4,500, they take it and run, and you're left holding a deficit in your account typically. And it makes you look like you're a wire frauder. And the bank will.
Wow. Yeah, that's scary.
Not only will they get your money back, they'll get their money back, but they can actually report it, and then you can go to jail for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yep. And then you have to explain, I didn't know, it wasn't my fault. Like, you know,
Right.
like, oh, sure.
Just like just like every genuine scammer says.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
So
that is scary.
One. So they'll ask you for money, and you'll see this in data entry scams. You'll see this, but I think you're just going to start to see these in code from home scams. You know,
we're going to see more work from home ones for sure.
And I think the first ones will come out will be because they want to get to people that don't have options. Like that's the problem. They kind of prey on people that are really kind of mostly charged to find a job. So the coding jobs will come out. They'll be super easy, but they'll pay you $100,000 supposedly, and all I need you to do is update some web pages in Brazil or something like that. And then, oh, by the way, you know, this customer can't pay in the US. Can you cash this check and then wire the money to them? Because we can't do it because we're, you know, whatever reason, federal law prevents us from doing it. So like, it's just kind of crazy. But here's the other ones, the other scams that can happen to you. Just say you're looking for a job, Kevin, and you want to get a coding job, and a recruiter reaches out to you.
Okay.
And says, hey,
that can happen.
Yeah, and it can happen. Okay. So the recruiter reaches out to you and says, hey, you know what I want you to do? I've got a job for you. But then the hook comes in. I need you to pay for this first. So it'll typically be training or a background check or some type of thing that you pay for in order to get the job.
Okay.
And
that one is a genuine, just outright scam, right? The job doesn't exist. It's just a genuine outright scam. There's a version of this I'll talk about in a second.
Yeah.
That's not a scam, but kind of close to this.
Yeah. So like there's a company out there that we don't agree with, and we don't want to name them because it's technically not a scam. I just think it's a bad deal.
It is a bad deal.
And I haven't personally went through the process. So maybe they're on the up and up. Maybe they're doing it. I do not want to mention their name, but in general, it goes like this. You pay to go to their boot camp, and they train you for 10 weeks. Typically, you'll get paid a little bit above minimum wage for 10 weeks to go through the training, and then they'll put you on a client project. But you are beholden to them for 2 years.
Right.
And so you don't really, you get paid to get the course, the training, and typically the training may be legit. I think they really are wanting to put you out in jobs, but you want to get you'll have a below market wage for 2 years.
Right. And when you say you're beholden to them for 2 years, you're beholden to them because in the contract that you've signed, they've paid you to take the training. And only you have to pay that back. You have to pay for the training.
Yeah. So like it could be the cost of a boot camp.
You got like $10,000. It could be $10,000 to $20,000 to pay for the thing. And who's going to do that?
If you want to leave.
If you want to leave, if you want to get out of your contract.
And
it's not
Rally is correct here. So there is some of this I've heard too, and I can't I don't want to say the company name, but like they can make you move too.
Yeah, again, part of the contract.
It's part of the contract. So you have to read this contract. You'd have to have an attorney to review it. Here's what I'd say.
You do need an attorney to review it because it's not.
It could, like, in other words, like a scam is where they just take your money. Okay. This is just like where you're kind of getting to like almost indentured servitude and you're beholden to this contract. And so you need to.
This is not a scam.
Yeah. It's just like, I think there's better things out there for you.
Yeah.
And so like you just have to like know what you're getting into, and then you have to buy your way out of your contract if you get a better offer. So like, but if you can't find anything else, it is employment. They do actually pay you. You do get training. You do work on projects, but you know, you have that 2 year
to get out of it.
3-year agreement.
Better save some of that money. Save some of that initial money up front.
So someone's calling them out online, and like I just don't, I'm just not going to call them out. So like you guys figure that out. But in general, I want you to understand, like it's not a scam per se, but like it's not you don't have to go that route. But it's the only way.
It's not the best deal.
Some people have been very successful under that, and some are like, wow, man, that kind of sucks. So so I think that's kind of so be wary of like paid training programs. Like you have to pay to work there.
Yeah.
You have to be very afraid of that. Now, you're probably thinking out there online, well, don't we pay to go to Code Foundry? Yes. And do we get you jobs? Yes. Are we just like them? No. So like our pay,
I never thought about it that way, actually.
yeah. So our pay is based on whether you get a job or not, typically under ISA. So like our thing is to promote success for you. The difference between us and these other companies is we want you to get paid the highest amount possible. And we're not trying to lock you into a minimum wage or way below market wage rate for multiple years so that we can sell your service to someone else at a higher gap. So if I'm paying you $12 an hour, but I'm billing you out at like 83 or 90 or $100 an hour, and you're locked into that thing for 2 years, I can be very profitable for the company. And so Coder Foundry is more like, well, let's make this profitable for the student. And then you just pay the upfront price for the training as you get a job. So that's the kind of the difference between the two models. And I think ours is more ethical because we want you to succeed and we're not trying to like hold you back. Now, before you say it, have I ever hired someone at Coder Foundry and they worked at the consulting company? Yes. Some are working here now. I mean, I do hire people, but I pay them kind of a fair wage, I think. Yeah. So, so that's kind of where that's at. So how do you
think about Nightbot? Just real quick, Nightbot. Nightbot's still on. I don't know. I did lower the thresholds for Nightbot, so that's but it's still there. Test it, Maverick.
So so the other thing that you can do is, and this goes back to our kind of our things, is if you have a recruiter, okay, and you have a go-between between you and the company for a lot of your transactions, the recruiters will typically know like this is a scam or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll have seen them before.
Yeah. They also can do some research for you that you may not be aware of to research the company to make sure it's real because the recruiter wants to get paid. So and so they're not going to waste their time with a fake company. And typically the fake companies don't reach out to recruiters directly because they know they'll see through their game. They reach out to individuals. So if you're working with a recruiter and you get a job offer, you can always run that past your recruiter. And if you have, like I've always said, you built up a good relationship with them, they'll help you do it. Just like we did with our student. Our student reached out to us and said, hey, I got an offer. And then we started doing research and we had to tell him the bad news. And he was crushed. I mean, emotionally, it sucks. I thought I had something, and it's like, it's not real. So there's a couple of things you can do on your own, though, to avoid, to detect these things and figure out, is it bad or not? First off, do your research, look at domain names, find out if the company is real, find out if the person you're talking to actually works for the company, and then try to reach them directly outside of the channel that you're being messaged with.
Yes, definitely go outside of channel for sure.
Right. So call into the HR department and say, hey, I was just speaking to, John the other day, and he had an offer for me. I had to ask him a few questions. Do you mind if I leave him a voicemail or can I speak to him directly?
Yep.
It's about a job that he has opening, and I just spoke to him via email. And that's what you can do. And a recruiter can do that for you. And that's one thing you can do. And so the scams work the same in all the things. We got on ad scam here, Kevin, and that's what we did.
We did.
So a gaming company was going to run ads on our YouTube channel. And so we don't really exactly know kind of what their whole end goal was yet.
We didn't get that far.
We didn't get that far, but so what we figured out was okay, it seemed kind of weird. And so we just basically went around that channel they were emailing us on and went directly to that game company. And then the game company said, no, that's definitely fraudulent. And then they thanked us for letting them know that happens.
I'm pretty sure what it was they ultimately sent me a copy of a game to look at. And I was
right.
Copy of a game hosted on, I forget what the host was. And I was like, okay, this is one of those hosts who's known for, exactly. This is one of those host platforms that's known for having malware stuff. And I'm like, okay, let me contact the company. And that's when we figured out, I was like, okay, whatever. It doesn't really matter. I've wasted 20 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And so,
but it was convincing.
Yeah, it was convincing. And so they target us directly. And so you have to be careful. So the way you can do it is they're sending you an email. Don't respond to that email go around that and either go to the website directly, go to the HR department directly, call them on the phone, make sure the company's real, and then verify that the job is real. And so like, you know, the aerospace company we contacted thanked us for bringing it to their attention, you know. And I think that's kind of what it does. The other thing you can do is get a signed offer letter or employment contract is one thing you can do. If you go the employment contract route, you do have to have that reviewed by a legal attorney always, just like you would with the other company we talked about. And so like you want to know that they'll send you an actual offer letter that you can actually validate and verify, you know. So before you ever fill out employment forms or whatever else, if your interview is conducted not in person, either through Zoom or but specifically over chat or email, that's not real. It's just not real. No one's going to do that. So
yeah, you need to at minimum get a face-to-face with somebody. It should be at least like this. We should be at least having a chat on a Zoom call or something as a minimum. And even then, it's like you've still got to look. That can't be your only point of check. You need to do more checks than that. Like Bobby said, I think one of the best checks you can do is call the company directly and ask to talk to the person. Yeah,
talk to HR.
Yep.
You know, and then you'll find out right away if you're being considered. You know.
Yep.
So
sometimes it's also, I've seen this too, where like a scammer will jump on a legitimate job post. They will set up an almost legitimate email address for a legitimate person at the company. So let's say it's John Jones, and he works at this company XYZ. He'll register John Jones at company ZYX.com, and it's so close. Real guy, real job, real everything. It's the email address that's slightly different. They'll pluralize things on the domain names, things like that. They'll switch characters around and register that domain. It'll be super, super close. And we've actually had ones here from you as an employee. You remember those that came around?
Yeah.
We had stuff from Bobby, an email that's like, hey, this is important. I need you to do something for me right now.
Send a check right now.
Send a check right now. I need you to do this thing for me. And it's like, wow, okay. Oh, Bobby needs this. Okay, we'll jump on that. And I'm like, but he's in the office next door. Wouldn't he just like walk in and just stay? And then I've been like, did you need something from me?
Nope.
They're like, no, I didn't.
All right. All right. So we got 3 minutes left. So that's hopefully that'll help you out a little bit. We do want to get to memes like we promised Maverick.
Oh, yes. Let's do the memes. I got a couple to show at least. So let me.
Raphael's trying to trigger Nightbot now. He's trying to trigger.
Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's just not working today.
You can speak in all caps now.
Let me look. I told you I lowered the things for Nightbot, but it's still working. It says, what are we on today? No, it's still working. It's at least it's looking at the number of comments, so it's, I don't know, still doing something. Okay, let's do memes then to round this off here.
All right, let's do it.
Explosions for the win. Okay, I like this one first. Now, this took me a minute.
Actually, you got it because I didn't.
I did get it, but it did take me a minute.
I mean, I didn't.
I'd look at it. I was like, do I even know this song? Like, and then I realized, oh yeah, I do know this song. And I'll show you. Like, so I'm very familiar with this song, but there's one place that it was like made famous like more recently than its original release. So its original release was kind of big anyway, by the way, but it was made famous again from this part. Hold on, let me show it here. And I can share audio too. So it was made famous from this scene in Wayne's World. I just let it roll past this part because it's iconic.
There you go, man. That's America summed up right there.
So there you go. So
Bohemian Rhapsody by King.
So yeah, it's Bohemian Rhapsody by King. And I was like, these things, I'm always looking through them and I'm like, what is that again? Like, why is it that? And I was like, I'm picking out keywords. I'm like, real, fantasy, landslide. And I was like, oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
But it did take me a minute. But I was like, that's genius. That's very, very smart. So I like that one. I think Matt posted that one. That's cool. Thank you very much for posting that. And then I like this one too. This one was good. This is one of Maverick's. Because this also applies to Visual Studio too, right?
Studio is better than it used to be, but like, it can still be kind of a hog. And the studio can be a hog. You know, if you, we always say that students coming in Coder Foundry, you got to have we want you to have 8 gigs of RAM. Don't run in here with 4. Studio, you know, we're all gonna die.
And if you've got 16, dude, it's all better.
So,
oh, that's funny. And then I like this one too. This was a good one.
Okay.
The guy wanting to learn data science. He has a thorough and informative academic course. I imagine this being like Harvard educated data science, but MIT exactly. But he's still looking at that $12 Udemy course.
That's it.
It's just true. It's just true. And this could be anything too. This could be learn to code and looking at the Udemy course. It could be anything on Udemy. They have so much stuff on there.
Yeah.
$12 Udemy courses are super tempting.
Yeah.
Super tempting. So thanks, Maverick. I appreciate it. Those were really good.
Keeping us laughing.
Oh, and he's not a Queen fan.
Yeah, sorry.
Be friends.
We can be friends still.
I don't.
But it's just that Bohemian Rhapsody is like so famous. That's why you could put that in code and people finally get it.
Yes. Yeah. It's iconic. It's people will say it's the perfect song. Like it literally has everything.
Yeah, and Wayne's World. Yeah,
and Wayne's World knew that, and they used it, and they brought it back, and it became #1 again after that. By the way, too, it was like a #1 single around the world again after that movie came out. It's like, wow, I think it was from like the late '70s originally, and then came back again in like the '90s, and it's like that's nuts.
It's kind of cool.
He loves Elton John. Hey, I like Elton John too. I saw Elton John last year, and it was legit awesome. Yeah. Great show, super good. I would go again in a heartbeat.
Did you see the movie that was recent? Or
I didn't see it yet. No, Maverick did. Look, I didn't see it yet. It's on my list. It's on my queue. I have a lot to watch.
There's that Rocket Man and the Queen movie came out in the same year.
Oh, now the Queen movie's super good. I did watch that. That guy deserves to get awards for that movie.
Yeah. Mr. Robot Guy, that's who I call him.
Yeah, it's legit. Mr. Robot Guy, hacker turned Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah. Rami Malek, that's his name. He's super good. Yeah, he deserves the awards. He's very convincing.
All right, so we got a new guest. We're getting ready to get out of here. We got a guest, Keyshawn Evans, hacker extraordinaire, will be here on Wednesday, and please don't miss that one. I think he's going to show some stuff that might blow your minds. So
he's going to talk about basically working from home now and protecting yourself working from home.
Right,
like how you can get hacked working from home.
And it'll be very
scary,
or you'll learn a lot either way. So
it's scary.
Yeah. And then Kevin, we're off tomorrow, and we're going to take Monday off too. So we're going to celebrate the 4th and
taking a vacation.
Yeah, and Monday's our first day of class. So typically we'll be pretty busy the first day of class with new students coming in. So we want to make sure that all goes smoothly. So we'll be back on Tuesday of next week. Tuesday. A whole new week of stuff. Got some guests, as we said, Keyshawn coming in, and so we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yep, that's the plan. Right.
Good luck. Don't get scammed today, and just keep coding. We'll see you guys later.
See you guys later.